Okay, welcome back to episode 3 of Programming C++. Today we'll be going over cout and cin and how to get user input and output to the console. So up to this episode, especially in the last episode, we've been printing things to our console that we can see, we can actually visualize. The way we do this is using a keyword or a predefined variable called cout. So cout stands for character output, and by using it with the insertion operator or these two less than symbols, we can send things to be printed to the console, and we can send strings. Basically, it's just a list of characters, and you can have more than one character. That's what makes it different from a character, and that you have to have your double quotation marks. Good. So we can go ahead and print cout, and we can say hello world. Now, where does this cout predefined variable come from? Well, it comes from a library, and we won't go over library and header files too much in this video, especially because it can get really complicated, especially when you're making your own. But basically, we have this kind of is another file. There's another file called iostream, just like our main.cpp. And by using the hashtag include, we can use the source code that's in there to use cout. So if we go ahead and run this, it will print hello world. Good. We can also print multiple things on the same line by doing something called concatenating, which means just linking them together. So if we want to print just hello, and then insertion operator again, and then world, what do you think this will print? Think about it. It will actually print hello world. Let's go ahead and comment that out. It will actually print it without the space. So C++ is very non-assumptive. You want to tell it exactly what to do. So here we would also have to include a space. And let's go ahead and print this. So I think you saw, because I included this, you saw what was the next thing we're going to talk about. But just think, if I put this down, what do you think that this will print? Will it print hello world on two different lines? No, it will print hello world on the same line. Like I said, C++ is very non-assumptuous, and you have to tell it when to create a new line. So there's two ways we can do this. The first way we'll go over is we can use another keyword or predefined variable called endl. Endl stands for end line. It's very good naming, and basically it just means that it will end a line. So we have to do another insertion operator and then our keyword, and then it will create a new line like that. So the second way is a special character, and it's going to be single quotation mark \n single quotation mark. This is also the new line character. And the reason that most people are going to use this when you're programming is because programming is a lot about efficiency, remember? Because endline or endl here actually has two jobs. It creates the new line and it moves your cursor there, but it also flushes your console. It kind of resets it, and it means that the text will show up right away. But usually, cout will do this anyways. It will flush it. And even if it doesn't, it's not that important, because you don't need your text instantaneously. So most of the time, you're going to use back the new line character, because the more efficient and straightforward you can make your code, the better. So how do we use the new line character? Well, let's go ahead and comment this out. And we can even go ahead and hide these. So we can either concatenate it with our string here, like this. This will print a new line. See how it created a new line here? Maybe to make it more clear, I can just print the number 4. Yeah, so here we go. So it creates a new line. And most of the time you're going to be wanting using this. So we can also embed this new line character within the actual string. So if we go ahead and keep the... Actually, we don't need to keep the 4. So if we go ahead and print hello world again, or let's say hello Andy. And this time, instead of actually concatenating with another insertion operator, what we can do is just write backslash and n. And then C++ will know that this is a new line. We don't actually have to concatenate it. And again, maybe it'll be helpful if we see out something after it. So why would we concatenate it versus this? Well, remember, cout can also print numbers, and you can't concatenate with, or you can't embed within the number. So if, for example, we want to say hello my, and then let's do another insertion operator, and then let's put the 1. Well, now if we wanted to put a new line, we would have to actually concatenate it and add another one with another insertion operator. So next, how do we get user input? Well, we can then get user input by another keyword, another predefined variable in the IOStream library called cn. Can you guess what cn stands for? Yes. Hopefully you guessed that it's character input. By combining character input with the extraction operator, which is kind of like the flip of the insertion operator, we can get user input. We have to store this input in a variable somewhere though. So let's say, let's define an integer x, and then we can say cout, please insert a number, like that. And then we can do cn, our keyword, and then the opposite operator. So if you remember, easy way of remembering this is cout, the arrows point towards cout, so what the keyword, but then cn, the arrows point away from the inward. Or cout is kind of like a megaphone that's projecting the text you have here or whatever you have here, and then the extraction operator is kind of extracting it. I don't know, just an idea. So we can go ahead and say cn, and then our extraction operator, and then our variable. So then if we go ahead and run this, and I'll just comment this out. Then it'll say please insert a number. And then remember, it will only move the cursor to a new line if you include one of these new line statements. So if we don't have one, the cursor will stay here. And let's just put the number as 50. And then I didn't actually add a way of showing what it will be, but we can just use cout again, right? And we can just, you can even cout a variable like this. Oh, no. Like that. So if we go ahead and run this now, please insert a number, 5. Our number will be 5. I'm not sure if you actually need this to create a new line after your input. Well, my logic says so. Oh, no, you actually don't, because enter, what I just pressed to like enter the number, is actually in there. So this is actually a really realistic example of when you would use cn. Because you can't just get user input right away. You would need some sort of statement before the input to make sure the user knows what they want to put in. Okay, so these are the questions for today, our little quiz. You can pause the screen and work on them, and then we'll go over the solutions. So, what does cout and cin stand for? Cout stands for character output. Oh, let's make sure to comment this out. And cin stands for character input. Where does cout and cin come from? From the IOStream library. Print out the string hello world. So for this, we'll use the keyword for the predefined variable cout, and then of course our operators, and then our string. And it's good practice just to have an end line at the end of your strings, just so it doesn't get messy. So let's go ahead and run this, and hopefully it works. Yep. Initialize a variable and then print it out. This one's pretty easy. If you remember the last episode, integer x is equal to 5, and then cout x. And here we have to concatenate with our new line. Hello world, and then 5. Define an int variable, take in user input, and print out that user input. Make sure to notify the user what to input. So we'll create our int variable, and then we'll take in user input. So first we have to say input an integer to be stored. And then we just cin our variable using the correct operators, and then cout our variable so we know that it worked. Input an integer to be stored, let's say 17, and then 17. Perfect. Okay, thank you for watching.